I just have to say, with the rest of the ensemble, I gotta mention them. Timothy Chalamet. Oh my God, Mark Rylance. Mark Rylance doing this tech billionaire guy. It was a mix of all of them.
What would I not ask these guys, right? You gotta ask Leo and
Yeah, what was that like working with somebody like him who comes up with this character? I know he's an actor's actor, but yeah.
I mean, I'm in awe of him and have been for a long time. If you've ever seen him on stage, he's just mesmeric. And he's got an enormous imagination and appetite for the work. So he comes in with so many ideas, and it's so concentrated. And this creature was so weird from the very, very beginning. And he just sort of like hovered. He didn't really walk. He was. It was weird. And he told me later that he was so worried because he wasn't looking at us. And there are really bad actors who don't look at you because they're looking elsewhere. They're looking out to get, I don't know, they're just to steal focus or whatever. And he was just so beautifully entitled by his brilliance and his brains and his belief that his technology would save the world, and if it didn't, he had a plan B, and he was going to go. And that's where a lot of their heads are. A lot of there's a wonderful book called The Overstory by Richard Powers, which is about trees, and he's a tech guy who moved from Silicon Valley to the Great Smokies and the mountains to write about trees. And the reason he did this was that he said he just went to one too many dinner parties in Palo Alto where they talked about real estate and living forever. And seriously, that was the concern. How can I preserve this magnificent forever? And it was a fixation, and he just thought it was insane. And that's the Peter Isherwell character. I just thought Mark was incredible.
I have to ask you before we go, I got a little bit of a signal here, but the improv, you've got a brilliant writer here, brilliant script, but were you free to improv? Because some of those lines look like they could not have been in a script to me. That it just seems so free for the actors here.
No, I think it was an amazing experience for all of us because, well, yeah, what Adam was talking about earlier, as much as this film was about, had its origins in the climate crisis, and when COVID hit, it became a whole next wave of crazy parallels to the story. And so much so that I remember this is not about improv for a second, but I remember we were doing a sequence where there was riot sequences outside, and it was the day that the Capitol got stormed, and we were watching like real life, as ridiculous as some of this stuff was in the script to imagine before it was happening before our very eyes. But what Adam created it was almost like a theater for us to be able to try anything. And as much as the screenplay was really tight and focused and intelligent and witty, it was like he was in the next room with 15 face shields and masks, and we would just hear this comedic voice of genius, try this, reach over and pick Meryl's nose, whatever it is that I wanted to do, combined with somebody like Jonah Hill, who's really one of the great improvisational geniuses of this time. It was like, it was an incredible, an incredible stage for all of us to literally try anything at any given time. And even if it didn't fit the narrative, sometimes we'd go off on tangents. I mean, Jonah would go off for 3 hours insulting Jen Lawrence. Take after take after take. And it was really...
He and Meryl were, it was like...
Yeah, we had one where
Racehorse.
Jonah and I were in the Oval Office on the maybe, I don't know, 30th day of shooting that scene. And we were, I think you were crying because you were so upset. And I looked at Jonah and he looked at me and we just started laughing. And he said, you know, sorry, we have this thing, we laugh when people cry. It's just the thing we have, you know. And then we couldn't stop. No, we literally couldn't stop. And
Then it went
Remember-
deep. It was like you guys were. Then there was like some guy at his funeral. I remember
it was
that.
it was
It was
my
your
husband
husband.
and his
Yeah.
father.
This
And
is
we realized that,
history,
you know, it
and we're
started
like
there.
watching this, like
You know, we were laughing at that
It
funeral.
was Jonah's dad at the funeral had died, and you guys had laughed and brought it back. And our brilliant editor, Hank Corwin, I was like, you gotta get that in the movie. And he tried like 5 times, because it was so deranged. By the way, Meryl is a really good improviser. We had a phone call that started the first Oval Office scene, and do you guys remember every single take? Meryl did a completely different phone call. And I came up doing improv. I'm from Second City. We started the Upright Citizens Brigade. I mean, I can improvise all day long. And I looked at Jonah at one point, I was like, I couldn't do that. I could not do 20 straight phone calls where everyone's different. And Jonah's like, there's no way. He's like, I do 4 and then I repeat them. But Meryl's improv chops really floored me.
Well, when you have this level of a cast and this great a script, you know, you got this movie. So congratulations.
And thanks for coming out here.
Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So it is